Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming today. I hope everybody's long weekend and Labor Day was a stunning weekend and everybody's well rested and back at work. I'm very happy and very pleased to be hosting today's webinar with our esteemed speaker, Arnaud. We'll be talking about something really exciting either within the market regarding robotics. But before we go down that road, I'm just going to give you a quick recap of today and about ShopCare. So please bear with me. It's going to take about 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, so firstly, housekeeping, guys. All microphones are muted. Please feel free to use the questions and answer function. Unfortunately, I'm not getting the chat function to work properly today, so please make sure that you just use the Q&A function. I'll monitor that. So any questions towards me or Arnaud, use that, or any comments, you can use that as well. There will be a few poll questions towards the end of the slideshow today or presentation. Please stick around for that because your information is really valued, and we want to make sure that we will be able to support you in the future. Then from a ShopCare perspective, guys, coming up from a webinar experience, we have a violent and aggressive behavior with Matt. That's happening on this Thursday, so please check out that. If you haven't registered, join today quickly. Then we've got Arnaud again, and I'm pretty sure he'll be joined by one who is executive team and talking about ergonomic and workplace wearables. Then you've got myself next week as well, talking about the overview of critical risks exposure within the retail, manufacturing, and supply chain sectors. And that will be some exciting stuff to come around and see what's really happening in our industry and what opportunities are out there. Also, we have an 8-part machine safety series with Brent Sutton. He's a really experienced guy when it comes to machine safety, and these webinars will be 30 minutes, but they'll be stretched out from the 8th of November right to 21st of March. So please, if you've got any issues when it comes to machine safety and guarding, this is a must to join. So make sure that you register for those events. Then we have Darren Cotton. He's done some really good work with a lot of organizations out there around fatigue. So watch out for that one coming towards the 17th. I'll just call it here, it's falling asleep at the wheel, how fatigue is killing our workers. Then lastly, we've got chain of responsibility for supply chains by Kelly McCluskey and Paul Gaynor, most probably some of the leading individuals when it comes to chain of responsibility between Australia as well as New Zealand and what they are doing currently within the New Zealand sector. So make sure if you want to be upfront with the chain of responsibility to ensure and to enjoy that webinar as well. Then lastly, from a ShopCare perspective, guys, we have some really good work going on with critical risks. As I mentioned before, the critical risk exposure report is available. If you want to have a copy, just email me, I'll give you a copy, or go to our website and download a copy. We've got some free resources on hierarchy controls. We're also working on some bow ties that you could be able to download for yourself. And then we have a safety driver guide. So please, that's pretty comprehensive. That was developed with conjunction with the AA Motoring Company. We've got a couple of projects around violent and aggressive behavior, especially with Skills VR. We are really partnering with them and trying to push how we can de-escalate and train and educate with an immersive experience when it comes to customer-facing employees. We have another project working, I can't really talk too much about it, but hopefully it will become public very soon with one of the government official organizations. So please watch out for that. And then we've got a site markings project that will be completed towards the end of this year, setting the standards for what site markings should look like. Then lastly, participative ergonomics. That's a piece we are working now. We're really trying to prevent any musculoskeletal injuries by early intervention, injury management, and basically, I just want to say reinventing the wheel, but just altering it a bit from the Chazan's model where it says work should not hurt. So we're going to be following that type of model when it comes to participative ergonomics. So please watch out for that and join if you want. It will be a really good session. Then that's it from my end, from a ShopCare perspective. I will be in the background, guys, so any comments towards me, I will have a look. I always monitor the Q&As, and then before I hand over, if you have any other issues, let me know. I'll be able to try and sort them out if I can. And then Arnaud is going to take us through the whole webinar right now, and towards the end, I'll open up the lines. We can do a bit of a Q&A, and if there's more time, I'll see if I can open up for live questioning. As you know, the recording is being recorded, so please, guys, we really want to make sure that we can share as much information as possible, because that's what we're all about, trying to share that information. So this will go on to our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of this week or next week. So if you want to have a re-go at this webinar or share this webinar with others, please feel free to do so. So before further ado, I'm going to hand over to our esteemed speaker, Arnaud. Thank you very much for taking the time for today. Thank you to spreading your message of robotics in the workplace. Arnaud is really knowledgeable when it comes to this area. And please, and the floor is yours, Arnaud. I'll be in the background.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully, this is going to be inspiring to you all. Yes, quick note, right? So let's see. Exxovantage. So what is Exxovantage? So Exxovantage is what we call a biotech company. So essentially, we solve two types of problems using basically some solutions and some technologies, but essentially we solve human problems and we solve business problems. What we are about is we are an integrated workplace solution provider. So we are not a distributor. So we are not driven by products or technologies. We are very much focused on people focused and solution focused, as opposed to being some sort of distribution type of company. So the four categories that we use to solve humans and business problems are workplace wearables, exoskeletons, which are what we call wearable robotics, AI, and data, right? These are the outcome from those four engagement or categories that we do have and apply within the workforce. We'll go next, Wes. So why us at all, right? So that matters to us a great deal, because as we are leading, wearables or wearable exoskeletons very much from an empathy and compassion point of view, which is one of our core values of the company. So again, for us, it's really about empowering and protecting the global workforce with our solutions and technologies. So it matters to us a lot, because we're not based just here in New Zealand. We are based in Australia, where I have a team there, a CEO and a team, and then we have the same in the States, as we are growing globally. So it is very important for us to ensure that we are all aligned as we are keeping growing globally, as the teams are in different locations. So while the industries are different, the verticals are different, or the workforce might speak different languages, we do share similar challenges, and we do share similar KPIs that we want to achieve or exceed. But again, we have, being in the biotech industry, you have some whether they are demographic challenges or environmental challenges that we need to ensure that we are all on the same page. So true north for us, the vision of the company is really about empowering the global workforce, and then we implement with our mission, which is basically increasing productivity, safety, longevity, and well-being of our workforce for the benefits of everyone. Next. Thank you. So who's behind Exxovantage? So we have, so I oversee the entire organization. I'm based here, and then we have a board here in New Zealand. We have a board in Australia. So Damien Coran, he's the CEO in Australia. He will be joining me next week to talk more about wearables. As today is very much about exoskeletons, ergonomic related solutions around exoskeletons. So he's going to be joining me next week. Matt Marino is based in the States. We're very blessed to have him because Matt is probably the best ergonomist in the world. He's the one that sets, the benchmarks for companies like Ford, Toyota, Boeing. He's the one that really ensure that wearables and exoskeletons are applied in a safe and fit for purpose sort of way. Not again coming from a product point of view, but more of a solution point of view. So the team is much bigger. We have a team in Singapore, the coders. We have a team in Manila in the Philippines. So, but this is the core of the company as the leadership team. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Right. So let's see. Trending problems, right? So I thought that before moving forward into the presentation, I just wanted to share with you the trending problems that we do have and why people do engage with us, organizations do engage with us in logistics, manufacturing, and retail, right? So as you can see, some are quite obvious, reducing, from a head of health and safety point of view. Someone would say, well, we want to reduce fatigue, injuries, absenteeism, ACC claims, addressing shortage of staff. But we have, sort of KPIs that are less sort of obvious. And as you can go through this list, you can see that there is, people want to increase their public image, for instance. So they had some challenges in the past, bad press, people got injured, people got killed. How do we address those challenges, and what can we do? So it's not just like a one size fit all, and just like, we want to increase productivity, or we want to increase revenue, profit, and reducing cost. So there is more to it. So I just wanted to highlight, without being too overwhelming, I just wanted to highlight some of the trending problems that companies want to solve. So just on that note, let's say a food manufacturing companies, like a meat processing plant, for instance, they would be processing about 30 to 35,000 animals per day, about 5 animals per minute. So for them, absenteeism is the key, is basically the key KPI that they want to address and make sure that they have people that are, safe and turning up to work is what they want to achieve. And the rest is an added, is a bonus, but it's not what they want to solve in the first place. When staff are, under pressure, injured with MSDs, musculoskeletal disorders, they're away, those animals needs to be relocated because they can't process them. So, and then they have, they need to comply to animal welfare, and then relocate those animals for the night and then process them the next day. So for them, absenteeism is a key challenge that they want to solve. Next, so 2 types of solutions, right? So workplace wearables. So those are sensors, essentially. What do we measure and capture with wearables? Are very diverse. So from temperature, you would be working in the cold room at the moment. How do we assess that someone is is too cold, between -20 or 40 degrees, his eyelashes would start freezing essentially. So with a wearable, he will have a belt, either with a timer or a temperature sensor to tell him that he needs to get out of the freezer. So we assess from the wearables forklift driving, someone that has fall off, and we don't know. So the manager essentially on his screen sees the entire workforce. They would all be fitted with some form of sensor, and that is for the managers to see whether it is peak times, Christmas times, and how their staff is moving and how they can improve, make changes and improve from the data that we gather and capture from those sensors. So next week we're going to talk more about that and exactly how we do that. But the other solutions that we do have is the ergonomic solutions, which are exoskeletons, right? Which is essentially what we call a wearable robotics. So it's a light robotic suit that you put on you when you are performing repetitive tasks. So they weigh about 800 grams. So every 6 months, every year, we get lighter and lighter with the technology. And really, for us, it is to ensure that less is more on the body. Obviously, if they are wearing something else, we want to ensure that it is as light and discreet as possible. So what is an exoskeleton? So basically, when you put a suit on you, let's say a back exoskeleton that you would be using in a pack house, right? So they are palletizing about 1.5 tons of fruit per hour, or a divining team, right? So they would be wearing an exoskeleton, a back exoskeleton, where essentially when they are reaching forward, they are suspended, and their back, all the pressure on their back is transferred to their thighs in one of the systems that we use. And this is you got powered exoskeletons and passive one. We'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially, it's a transfer of the pressure in a much more safe place onto the body. So we'll go next, Wes, thank you. Benefits, right? So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we deal with users and we deal with organizations, right? So, and everyone needs to be happy. We can't pick just either the users or the organization. Everyone needs to be on the same page and feeling the benefits of it, whatever it looks like. So for the user, it's more the feedback, the verbal feedback that we would get from them would be, I have more energy for my family. I have more energy from after lunch when the body gets cold. I feel more energized from Thursday onwards because, obviously I get tired, 12 hours, 10 to 12 hour shift, six days a week. It is obviously impacting on their bodies. So, we can measure the lower back reduction, 30%, biceps, deltoid, and things. But again, for a user, it's about reducing pain, fatigue, and often engagement. Obviously, when you do repetitive tasks, you lose focus because you get tired. And using the technology and the way we measure through our wearables, essentially, we can see the engagement level increasing and the focus increasing. So it's not just purely from a physical support, but also a mental one. Benefits for organizations, Wes? Thank you. So just one example, you've just mentioned that you're sharing that on other platforms, I won't be able to tell you the name of the company, but the world's largest e-commerce organization will you can put things together. There is an NDA signed with them, starts with an A. So fulfillment centers are massively adopting the technology. So with that company that I'm mentioning, they have deployed 150,000 of the wearables so far. There is 400 warehouses to go. So it is a no-brainer for this organization, and that is going to increase further and further. So obviously, reducing sprain and strain on the body through the wearables and exoskeletons, increasing productivity. Lost time injury, we feel that there is a lot to be achieved in lost time injury with an organization, as well as distracted management time. So DMT being when a manager has to leave his job to address the problems that he does have with injuries, staff being away due to the repetitiveness of the task, and how they're getting musculoskeletal disorders as a result of that. Increasing staff attraction and retention, especially since COVID. We've obviously seen a big shift in the workforce across all three sectors, whether it is manufacturing, logistics, or retail. The new workforce wants to work differently. They value their health more than the older workforce. An older staff, 60-year-old staff today would probably say, well, my body is screaming, but this is the nature of the job, and that's basically what I feel I need to go through. But a new staff, a millennial, would be more inclined to talk about Instagram and traveling the world, as opposed to being in a job which is impacting on his health and in his body. So we saw the shift coming, and obviously staff attraction and retention is a big part of what organizations want to solve with the technology. Reduction of injuries. Yeah, thank you. That's all good. So yes, I'm just going to give you some examples maybe of what exoskeletons look like in the workforce. We can go to the next slide, Wes. Thank you. Two categories, so powered and passive exoskeletons. So powered exoskeletons are obviously, or active, you obviously lift heavier. It is powered by batteries, so you are lifting much heavier. However, you are carrying also the weight of the technology with you. So the heavier, you can't walk as far, you can't walk as fast. It becomes a bit of a challenge. So we tend to focus more on passive exoskeletons, which is the right-hand side picture there, which are essentially very light, or as light as possible exoskeletons, and they are purely mechanical. So there are no batteries involved, and obviously we deal with shifts, we deal with and that's the reason why we go with mainly passive exoskeletons, whether you are a divining team, whether you are a processing plant, or even in retail. Next slide, thanks. A couple of logistics being, so this is what we call an exosuit, as opposed to being an exoskeleton. So the other one was an exoskeleton. So the difference being that an exoskeleton has like a part of the maybe the spring system, or part of the suit is kind of semi-solid somehow. There is a bit of a more solid components attached to it. An exosuit is much sort of softer. There's more fabric to it. Aviation is one, obviously, lifting suitcases and whether you are in the tail of the plane, whether you are on a conveyor belt, it is obviously 28 kg repetitively is impacting on the workforce. So logistics and aviation is where you would be using an exosuit, for instance. Next one, Wes. Yeah, logistics again, and retail. So on the right hand side is what we call a mid-height exoskeleton. So this is if you go in a shop, you would see elderly staff now being having to restock shelves and things like that. So they would be using a mid-height exoskeletons where your arms are basically suspended in front of you, so you have the full range of movement, but your back, your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrists are all supported through the exoskeleton, and the weight that you are carrying in front of you is kind of halved. So this is one example that we use in retail, essentially. Yeah. Next one. Pack houses, I mentioned that earlier, on the left-hand side. So some of the staff in pack houses, they would be using 2 exoskeletons at once because we palletize quite high, up to kind of 2 meters. So some of them would be using a shoulder exoskeleton as well as a back exoskeleton. Sometimes they would be splitting the teams in 2. So someone would be wearing the shoulder exoskeleton just to palletize at a higher level, and then someone would be palletizing back. But essentially that staff on the left-hand side here is suspended, right? So whatever is carrying in front of him, he can just let his body go, and he will have full range of movement. He can walk anywhere on the floor, and is basically it's like having a hoist attached to you all the time, so you are protected all the time. On the right hand side, an example with Ecolab. So they chemical manufacturers and handling a lot of chemicals under those racking, so they have to get in and then lifting 20 kgs also often. So for them it's another way to be able to be protected most of the time. Next one. Meat processing plants. We do that here and in Australia as well. It's a no-brainer. So all the companies that we've been dealing with, automation is been challenging in that way. So we believe that humans will play a big part of remain a big part of the of meat processing plants for the next probably 20 years or so. So how do we protect them until automation, if that is the case, will take over through back exoskeletons and mid-height exoskeletons again. So boning, gut removal are the 2 main challenges. So again, arms in front of you. So normally you would be wearing a smock over this mid-height exoskeleton, which is on the right hand side. We've left it open so you can see, but again, working in a meat processing plant is basically working in a lab. So we just need to ensure that the hygiene level is to the max. So we have a custom-made basically smock that goes over the exoskeleton to protect from any meat and reduce increasing hygiene, but also reducing the having to clean the technology because there's shift involved, etc. So that's an example of meat processing plants. Yeah. Thank you, Wes. Process, right? So we have a 4-step process, which we call the four A's. So how do we start, right? Essentially, we start with an audit where we understand the current state and the future state of the organization. So what you want to achieve, because even though you might think that all logistic companies or manufacturing companies or retail companies share the same challenges, we found that it's more complex than that. So it's they even though they might be in the same verticals, they have different ways of handling products and doing repetitive tasks. Even in one organizations, different plants would have different ways to do it. So for us, it's really about understanding each of those industries, but also organizations, and within the organizations, understanding what they're trying to achieve in the future. So three questions that we go through is basically the challenges that the organization wants to solve, the impact of those challenges currently on the organizations, but also, and more importantly, understanding the root cause of the problem, because often it's going through as many how and why that we understand that we can actually make some changes very early on that then have a better impact on the organization as a whole. So that's the audit. And then we follow closely to the number second step, Wes, thank you. The analysis. So we go then when we have to start on site, we would go in an organization with our wearables and our AI software, right? So essentially what we do is we measure and capture the before and after, right? So we would see how, first of all, looking at how your staff is moving and the impact from a ergonomic point of view that they are under. And then we would provide a report to the organization, which is sort of data driven, so they can see from stats, not just like verbal feedback from the users who might say, this is amazing, thank you very much. They might say, we can see from the data that it is impacting, how it is impacting on the bodies and the KPIs that we are increasing or exceeding through the technology. So that's how we do it with the analysis that we do. Yes, thank you. One example, thank you, was I wanted to show you. So they are filling in here about 50 containers per week of frozen goods. So I just wanted to show you how do we measure and capture the before and after somehow, if that wants to play. So you can see that staff is sort of older, using a back exoskeleton, picking up frozen ice cream, I think from memory it is. If he didn't have an exoskeleton, his body would be all red lines on this. So we then measure through the report the entire body, right, neck, everything, basically from the head to toes. We measure everything, and we can supply you with this report. Thank you, Wes. Advice, right? So let's see. So we always in New Zealand, we are a little bit behind compared to Europe or the States, where exoskeletons are PPE. Like if you go to Ford, Toyota, or Boeing, many of their workstations, this is considered PPE for them. The technology has reduced their injury rate by more than 85%. It's a no-brainer. They don't have ACC. So for us, we recommend, as opposed to in New Zealand not being kind of used to the technology, we recommend a pilot, basically, so a 4-week pilot that we measure and capture. So as opposed to trying to solve the entire organization at once, we would laser focus on somewhere in the plant where there is some key challenges, very obvious challenges, Not the exception, but kind of the norm, because that's where we see most of the result being achieved. But we would run a 4-week pilot with the technology, right? So we might have sort of 10 staff generally, and they would go through this pilot, and then after the pilot they would roll out the technology, which is the next step, with the deployment of the technology within an organization. So that's the last step. So once we have the data to show not the users, but also the management and the leadership team who makes the makes the decision in this change, we can deploy further. So small companies, so generally speaking, under 50 staff, we have a sales sort of model, because it makes sense from a CapEx or OpEx point of view. They are happy, generally speaking, they're happy to own the technology. But some organizations that we deal with have 2,000, 5,000 staff to suit up, right? So whether they are 90% would be suit up with wearables, 40-50% would be suit up with some form of exoskeletons. So we apply then a leasing model for those companies, because from an OpEx point of view, it makes a better sense for them, as opposed to coming with the capital upfront and being overwhelmed. We basically can deploy the technology within the organizations and through a leasing model. Yeah, thank you. To finish, right? So obviously we work with more companies throughout Australasia, but I just wanted to highlight some of the companies where we have an engagement with. Some barely starting, some have been going through that for a while now. So but those are companies that I felt would be a good fit for the verticals that we are mentioning today, which are basically logistics, manufacturing, and retail. So again, meat processing plants, whether they are here or in Australia, are very much early adopters. It's something that they've clearly mentioned that it will be a challenge for them in the future if they don't. It is not a question of if, it is just a question of when they want to deploy the technology. But again, companies like Woolworth, etc., in Australia, we're working with them on those initiatives. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Arnaud. Thanks, guys. We're just going to ask you a couple of poll questions. So please bear with us. Remember, all poll questions are anonymous, so please feel free to answer honestly. While we're going through the poll questions, guys, you feel free to pop in other questions in the Q&A function. So question one, guys, just before you answer, all these questions are multi-answer, so you can choose as many as you want. So I'm going to launch the first poll question right now. On a high level, what is happening internally for you to consider solving your challenges with wearables and exoskeletons? What is driving your interest for this change? And then the answers, is we want to increase productivity, we want to increase health and safety, environment quality and well-being. We can't meet our deadlines. We want to reduce staff turnover. We want to increase staff engagement. We have aged, qualified, skilled workers. We want to reduce absenteeism, for example, and we want to reduce injuries on ACC claims. So choose as many as you feel is applicable to your organization. We'll give you like a couple of seconds to go through those quickly. Okay, let's give it another 10 seconds or so. And then I'll run the poll in 3, 2, 1, go. And I'll share the results. Guys, you can see increase in productivity, about 20% of the issue. Just want to increase health and safety and well-being overall is the big one. Reduce staff turnover is another big one, about 60%. We want to increase staff engagement, 40%. Aged individuals, 60%. That's good, guys. There's quite a lot here that are very relevant. ACC claims, of course, but the big one standing out, of course, is the just want to increase overall health and safety and well-being for individuals. Okay, then next poll question, guys. While you get your answers going, or your questions going, and launching it right now, we have covered earlier the trending problems we solve in logistics, manufacturing, and retail. Are there any other challenges or KPIs not listed there that you want to solve? For example, we want to improve the company's public image to our organization. We want to be seen as early adopters. We want to meet or exceed regulatory client and industry requirements and standards. A couple of seconds for that one. And I'll stop it in 3, 2, 1, go. And no surprise, the big one is we want to be seen as early adopters. That's good. And second best is to exceed regulatory and client and industry expectations. Awesome. All right. Then let's keep on get your questions in for Arnaud or myself. And we've got 3 more poll questions, so please bear with us. We're going to make them quick as possible. What would prevent you and your organization to roll out the solutions and technology? Is the technology safe? Is the technology affordable? Do staff get reliant on the technology? How does the technology complement automation? So I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer those. Got about another 5 seconds or so. Make sure everybody gets a chance. Okay. Sharing the results. Is the technology safe? 40%, that's good. Is the technology affordable? That seems to be the main one. Do you get staff reliant? Any thoughts on those, Arnaud, of those results?
Sure. Is the technology safe? Yeah, thank you. And that will kind of is also staff get reliant on the technology is a big one. So what we've conducted it was a big question, right? So for us was, do you get somehow addicted to the technology, right? So if we take it away from you after 6 months, what happened? Do you get any weaker? Do you basically what happened? So what we've done with Boeing is basically going through a 2-year assessment and understanding the safety of the technology, but also from a long-term point of view. And the analogy or the result that came from this was that it's basically like going to the gym. So if you go to the gym for a year, and then you stop for whatever reason going to the gym, well, you don't go minus you, essentially, right? So your body goes back to where it was before. And the same applies with wearing an exoskeleton. So obviously the symbiosis of sort of man-machine, gets stronger as, your memory muscles, etc., sort of increases in that way. However, if you stop using the technology tomorrow, then yes, the first day you will feel that, well, where is my exoskeleton, right? So, but you wouldn't get any weaker for not using the technology over time. So it was a something that we really needed to measure and capture, kind of long term. So yes, the technology is safe, and no, you don't get any weaker or addicted somehow to the technology long term. To answer affordable, right? It's we have several packages, right? So and again, the package would be based on what the I would say typically no company in New Zealand, very few, some, but very few would have a exoskeleton a budget, right? So for them, it's for us, it's about working with what the company can afford, to increase productivity or health and safety for their staff, and what's the best package for them. So we don't sell one exoskeleton at a time. We deploy the technology basically on a bigger scale, so it makes sense from a price point of view. But let's say, for instance, if we go with a leasing model, right? So you would be leasing the exoskeletons for, let's say, less than $20 per day for a user, right? So when you go towards a leasing model, so that gives you an idea of how affordable it is to deploy the technology on a bigger scale in a large organization.
Thank you, Arnaud. Guys, 2 questions quickly coming out from a poll. Launching the second last one. Most of you have initiatives that are working on the next 12 to 14 months. How important and urgent would be deploying those solutions to solve your challenges? These are all single answers. So rolling out the technology is important but not urgent. Rolling out the technology is important and urgent, or we have other solutions currently in play which we need to evaluate first. I'll give you another couple of seconds and end poll, and I'll be sharing it. Rolling out the technology is important but not urgent, and 20% have said, okay, we have other solutions in play, we have to evaluate those first. So no real surprise there. Okay, then last poll question, guys. Here we go. Launching it now. Single answer question. Has this webinar been of value to you and inspired to do things differently? Yes, I find this is value and we'll do things differently. Yes, great to obtain confirmation on what we do already, or no, did not learn anything new today. A couple of seconds to answer that one. And we'll head into the Q&A. There is one question, Arnaud, so long for you while this is this poll question is closing up.
Sure.
What has been the response from workers after using the exoskeletons or exosuits in New Zealand?
Yeah. So generally very good. Again, the good thing with exoskeletons is that it is an instant solution. It's not like you have to wait a week to find out, or months or something. An older staff, a female staff, that's even better for them. So like let's say in a divining team, they would be lifting bunda bags, boxes for 12 hours, 12 hours shift for 6 days a day. It is backbreaking, right? So they are two in a container, forklift comes in and palletizing those products on those pallets all day, every day. So whether we've been to Ecolab, and very good results, right? And it's not surprising, right? So that the technology is helping those staff with, in terms of what they are doing, which is repetitive and really back-breaking often. Yeah. So yes, and then we are gathering the data through our wearables as we go through the years to support more from a sort of a percentage, increasing and reduction. I've touched on that earlier, about, but we need to have more data. We need obviously time to build up in an organization to build up the results and seeing the results from a data point of view. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Arnaud. Next question is, I understand that it will differ from company to company and depending on the solutions as well. But in your experience, what has the average return on investment time frame per product, just on average?
Yeah. So if we just take productivity, right? So productivity would mean different things from different organization. So whether it is for them looking at efficiency and how we can increase the efficiency, whether it is another KPIs which kind of bounce into, let's say we want to reduce our staff turnover or the training time that we have to retrain staff. So the challenge that we do find is that we can't just get one answer to everybody, because everyone has his own way of assessing or describing what is efficiency look like to them, what is productivity. But essentially, if you look at all the wearable solutions, whether they are wearables or exoskeletons, you have an increase of 20 to 25% of productivity or some kind of productivity, whatever it looks like for the organization. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Arnaud. Guys, we've got time more for one or two questions, so please, if you have a question, pop it in now. Arnaud, New Zealand, there's from manufacturing aside, in New Zealand there is quite a big remote, high turnover workforce, in a sense like merchandising. So people will merchandise in different stores, but it is also a high turnover environment, in the sense of people tend to work a couple of months or a year or two or even a couple of weeks before they leave. What would you say to organizations like that? How would you manage that type of solutions? Because it's still manual handling in essence, and they do a lot of bread trays or milk trays or whatever it might be, but the organization doesn't always have control over those individuals because they're so remote and far stretched.
Yeah. So it's a good point, Wes. So what we found is that obviously organization wants to focus on their employees first, as opposed to contractors. So that's what we found. But as the company keeps rolling out, let's say just in the divanning sector in logistics, they have many contractors. So what they actually have or end up having is the exoskeletons obviously belong to the organizations. It's on those coat hangers that are on the side, and even for their contractors, it is an obvious gain in terms of reducing fatigue, in terms of the energy increase of their workforce. So they would have those exoskeletons on the coat hangers just there, and most staff would be suited with, let's say, a medium exoskeleton, and then you would have a few small ones for female staff, and then for taller staff, you would have a large ones. But essentially, 90% of the workforce would have access to medium exoskeleton. So the exoskeletons belong to the company, and they just, as the team would come, they would be suited with the exoskeleton that they leave there. So it's an asset for the company. Yep.
A final question I've got here before we go, guys, is: do the exosuits or exoskeletons require service, like per annum or every 2 years, or do they need to be load tested in any event?
No. So what we do sometimes is cleaning. So is obviously hygiene with shift. So we have products that we use to sterilize and the products and things like that. So and then part of the leasing model that we offer, there's obviously a term which is around the maintenance of the exoskeletons, because some companies will keep rolling with the same. Some companies will be changing after 3 years. They will be coming up with a new model. So that's all part of the leasing model, depending on the size and the complexity of the organization. We offer all that. And again, it's tailored to what the company wants to achieve and how many exoskeletons they are deploying. But yes, simple answer is yes, it's part of it as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Arnaud. This has been really interesting, and I can see some really good work that you guys have been doing, and I think this will be advantageous for any organization. Saying that, I just want to say thank you again for everybody that's attending today. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Arnaud for coming along, sharing some of the solutions from an exoskeleton, exosuit point of view from Exxovantage. Then please, guys, if you haven't register for next week. They're going to be diving into a bit more deeper into wearables, which I'm also really excited about, because especially as Arnaud explained, to see those high peak times, as you can follow how people are moving and see how you can improve some of those productivity points, and potentially also fatigue points, how you can improve fatigue when looking at those models. So I'm really excited to see that and hear about that next week. Before I go, I just want to give Arnaud a final opportunity, and Arnaud, thank you again for coming today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I can't see anyone, but I'm hoping it was interesting for you, more educational than anything. But yeah, do reach out if you need any more insights on how we deploy the technology, and if this is a good fit for you as in your role, and for the organization as well. So yeah, happy to discuss further with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Arnaud. Guys, there's Arnaud's details. There's a website as well. Please go and check it out. If you want to follow us, please look at our website as well, or join our ShopCare YouTube channel and see some of our previous webinars that we've done. And you'll be seeing this one shortly on that channel as well. Thank you again, everybody. I hope you have a good day, and I hope I see all of you on Thursday. See you guys.